You looked at your brother helplessly, and said proudly that he wanted to exchange his fiancée with you, and even boasted, "The beautiful president will be left to you. I will marry the rich woman Song Xinyu." In his previous life, his younger brother married a beautiful CEO, but he couldn't stand her coldness and flirted with women outside. Finally, he was imprisoned in the basement and tortured to death. And you married Song Xinyu. And with her power, you can go in and out of high-end occasions and be envied by everyone. But in fact, you were drugged and killed by Song Xinyu. Now you are reborn to the night when you exchanged wives with your brother. Looking at the familiar room with bright lights, your adoptive parents and brother sitting in front of you. Before you can react, you hear your adoptive mother's anxious voice, "Hui Jin." Although the Shen family is also a famous family in Beijing, it is still far behind the Song family. Marriage is not a joke. You must choose carefully. The younger brother Lu Hui, Zhu opposite, was still a little dazed. He looked up blankly, hearing Shen family and Song family. He scratched his hair as if he suddenly reacted. His eyes turned around and fell directly on you, saying, "Mom, you are wrong. I mean to choose Shen. Shen are you all for me. She is so boring. And it happens that I have no other hobbies except doing experiments all day. The two of them must be a good match." In the previous life, Lu Huizhu fell in love with Shen Xing'er at first sight. No matter how his adoptive parents persuaded him, it was useless. He was determined to marry her. His adoptive parents doted on him and agreed. As a result, after only 3 months of marriage, he couldn't stand Shen Xing'er's cold and career-focused appearance. So he went out to flirt with other women and hang out in nightclubs every night. After being discovered by Shen Xing'er, he was imprisoned in the basement. Without alcohol and women, he was depressed. At that time, you were taken to high-end places by Song Xinyu, and you became a thorn in Lu Huizhu's eyes. He stubbornly believed that you had taken away his wealth and glory, but it was obviously his own choice. Now looking at the arrogant and complacent smile on his face, you instantly understood that Lu Huizhu was also reborn. Hearing Lu Huizhu say this, the adoptive mother turned to look at you. "Since Hui Jin wants to marry Zhru, then you should marry the Shen family." The tone was completely irresistible. You knew in your heart that the Lu family adopted you and never regarded you as a real son. It was just that your father died in the flood relief and rescue and was on the news. The Lu family was in a critical period of listing, and adopting you was just a show. From the beginning to the end, you were just a pawn of the Lu family, and a follower used by Lu Huizhu for entertainment. In the previous life, Lu Huizhu failed to get into college and went abroad to gain experience. His adoptive mother was worried and asked you to go with him. At that time, you had received the admission letter from Beijing University. For the first time, you fought for your chance and said, "Mom, Hui Jin is already an adult. He can be independent, and I have my own life to go." But his adoptive mother was furious and slapped you hard. "All along you have been the one who was arranged." Afterwards, Lu Huizhu boasted proudly, "Brother, your life is decided by me. If I go east, you can't go west." He sat on the high platform and stepped on other people's spines unscrupulously for fun. But now that he has lived a new life, this is an opportunity to change his fate. That night, Lu Huizhu quietly entered your room. The door lock was broken by him when he was a child and had never been repaired. He said that this would make it easier to find you. He stood in front of the desk, smiling, but his eyes were filled with malice and hatred. He said, "Brother, the Beijing socialite is left to you. I want to marry a rich woman from Beijing." You continued the carving in your hands. There was only one last step left, so you couldn't be distracted. Seeing that you didn't respond, he pushed you angrily, and the sharp blade scraped across his finger and blood immediately came out. You took the tissue and looked up at him calmly. Then, "Congratulations, brother. You got what you wanted. He smiled maliciously with a crooked mouth. Brother, if you are locked up in the basement and become a monk for the rest of your life, don't blame me. You stood up, lowered your eyes and looked at his stupid look and smiled. Then I wish you have fun in your brother and sister-in-law's multiplayer game. He raised his hand and swept all the objects on your desk, and raised his chin provocatively. Watch your mouth. Don't spread rumors when you are jealous. You looked at his back as he walked away, and slowly pulled the corners of your mouth to smile. The next day at noon, the parents of the 3 parties agreed to have dinner together to discuss the engagement. Lu Heizu dressed himself up like a man. Not long after you arrived, the Shen family also arrived. Shen Xing are you? Oh, greeted her adoptive parents politely. She was graceful, with fair and translucent skin and a pair of eyes as bright as stars. She was prettier than a TV star, and she had an elegant temperament that was pure and untainted. No wonder Lu Huizu fell in love with her at first sight. As soon as Lu Huizu saw Shen Xing Ruo, his eyes lit up instantly, and his gaze stuck to her like a dog-skin plaster. You interrupted and walked over to pull out a chair for Shen Xing Ruo, saying, Miss Shentan, sit over here. She smiled and said, thank you softly. Your brother looked cold and stared at you, wishing he could poke a hole in you. During the meal, Lu Huizu asked Shen Xing, are you all about her well-being with a playful smile? You poured a cup of tea for Shen Xing Ruo and handed it to her. But your eyes were looking at Lu Huizu, brother. Miss Shen will be your sister-in-law from now on, so don't be so disrespectful. When you heard the word sister-in-law, your brother and Shen Xing Ruo looked up at you at the same time. Your brother gnashed his teeth, while Shen Xing Ruo looked at you. A smile gradually curled up at the corner of her mouth, a flash of surprise in her eyes, as if she didn't expect you to talk to Lu Huizu like this. After the dishes were served, Song Xinyu hurried over, with a tired look of hangover on her face. It was probably because she was drunk in the bar again. She was really a perfect match for Lu Huizu. Your brother looked at Song Xinyu with flattery and disgust. In your previous life, you and Song Xinyu got married and found out that the powerful Song family chose to marry the Lu family because Song Xinyu had a chaotic private life and was anxious to find a buyer because she was pregnant. People with similar backgrounds looked down on her, and people from scholarly families looked down on her. Only the nouveau rich, like the Lu family, who had some family background, were regarded as country bumpkins, who only recognized money in their eyes. You were very curious about what your brother's expression would be when he knew it. After finalizing the details of the engagement ceremony, your brother couldn't wait to take Song Xinyu away. It is estimated that they are making love in the hotel. Even if you don't like Song Xianyu's arrogant attitude, you can't escape the temptation of the flesh. You took Shen Xing Ruo to a popular rooftop cafe and said, Ms. Shanghai, I want to discuss a deal with you. She raised her eyebrows and looked at you with interest. I thought Mr. Lu brought me here to talk about feelings. But I didn't expect that Miss Shen, who has always been cold and indifferent, would say witty words. You couldn't help laughing out loud. She frowned and looked at you. She cleared her throat when she realized that she was out of control. You hurriedly said, Sorry, I just think Miss Shen is a little cute like this. She picked up the coffee, lowered her head and took a sip slowly, revealing her red ears, and said, Mr. Let's talk about the cooperation you mentioned. You remember that there was a project in your previous life. The other party was interested in cooperating with the Shen family. The Shen family made preparations, but in the end it was intercepted by the Song family and suffered heavy losses. You said, I remember hearing that you have a project that is going well, but there is a senior executive in the other company that has not been dealt with. I have a way to help Miss Shen get the project smoothly, and I can also kick out that stumbling block. She asked, What are the conditions? You said, my laboratory is short of 20 million for a research project. Shen Xingru tapped her fingers on the table and looked at you calmly. Suddenly, she raised her coffee to you with a faint smile on her lips. Mr. Who happy cooperation. The car stopped a little far away, and you walked back side by side with her. The banyan tree on the side of the road sprouted new branches and replaced old leaves. And a yellow leaf fluttered and fell in her hair. She looked forward, her long eyelashes trembled like butterfly wings, and the sun shone obliquely, spreading a brilliant warm motion on her snow-white skin. You reached out to pick up the fallen leaves in her hair as if you were possessed by a demon. She looked up, her eyes as bright as glass seemed to contain a pool of autumn water, and your eyes flowed over her face and couldn't bear to leave. A male voice that was not pleasant interrupted the ripples between you two. You two, I'll take you home. You and she turned around at the same time, and it was Lu Huizu who came out of the hotel. You said, brother, why did you come out so soon? I will take your sister-in-law back so you don't have to worry about it. Ignoring Lu Huizu's livid face, you held Shen Xingru's shoulder and put it down when you walked to the car, saying, Sorry, Miss Shen. She tiptoed close to your ear, and her warm breath was tingling. Mister, how can you fulfill your husband and wife obligations in the future if you are so polite? You suddenly opened your eyes wide, your heart pounding against your chest, and your thoughts were in a mess. This woman is really a monster. You began to doubt whether she was really the boring woman in Lu Huizu's mouth. As soon as you entered the house, a wine bottle was thrown at you. The next second, Lu Huizu's drunken and furious voice came from the stairs. Lu Wenchuan, I gave you face right. You dare to embarrass me in front of you Chu. Liquid slid down your cheek, and you raised your hand to wipe it. You should call her sister-in-law. This seemed to irritate him, and he waved his fist and hit you. Do you think that just because I call you brother, you are really my brother? Remember your identity. You are just an orphan adopted by my family. And the things I don't want are yours. You pinched his wrist and threw him to the ground. Master, I won't indulge you this time. What can you do to me? Lu Huizu struggled on the ground like a dying fish. The reason why he chose the Song family was that he was dazzled by the superficial glory and wealth. But in his heart, he always regarded Shen Xingru always his property and coveted her beauty. He was a typical person who had his eyes on the pot while eating from the bowl. Not to mention that you are Shen Xingru's fiancé in this life. Even if you are an insignificant spectator, you will not watch him do whatever he wants. Lu Wenchuan, let me go, I'll tell my mom. You laughed, coward. The strength of his hand increased a little, and Lu Huizu screamed in pain. The adoptive mother heard the noise and rushed down from upstairs, slapping you hard on the back. What are you doing? Let go! Lu Huizu got up from the ground in a mess and walked to his adoptive mother. Mom, my wrist is about to be broken by him. The adoptive mother rubbed his red and swollen wrist nervously, turned her head and glared at you. Lu Wenchuan apologized to your brother quickly. The adoptive father also came down at this time. What are you arguing about? The adoptive mother said viciously. Look at this ungrateful wolf, he actually dared to hit Huijin. The adoptive father got anxious when he heard it, and kicked you in the stomach without saying a word, with great force, and you were kicked back to steps in an instant. He pulled your collar and said he was going to beat you to death. In your previous life you were treated like that by Song Xingru. Your adoptive parents only mocked you, and even sold your experimental results when you were unconscious. When your brother was caught cheating, they ran to the Shen family to plead for mercy. Have they ever had any love for you? In your new life you realized that it was not you who should die, but these beasts who regarded human life as ants. You looked at your adoptive father who was shorter than you with indifferent eyes. If I were you, I would not choose to do such a stupid thing as beating my adopted son at the critical period of marriage financing. The adoptive father narrowed his eyes slightly, and his eyes fell heavily on you, as if he wanted to see through you. Facing your calm gaze, he slowly lowered his raised fist and said to his adoptive mother and brother with a serious expression, "The family is in a critical period recently, so don't make trouble. Let's forget about this." Lu Huizu looked at you with hatred on his face. "I hope you can still be so arrogant when you are imprisoned in the dark basement. By then, I will live a life of luxury. Even if you cut out of me, I will never be soft-hearted." After he left arrogantly, you leaned against the entrance cabinet carelessly, opened your phone and looked at the wedding date. There was less than a month left, and thought, "Master, what will your ending be like?" I saw Shensheng Yuo again 3 days later, her hair casually tied up, revealing her white neck, standing in front of the honor wall, looking up and looking at something carefully. You followed her line of sight and saw that it was your photo taken by an unknown junior in high school, hanging on the confession wall. You asked, "Miss, why are you here?" She turned around, her eyes were dark, and you couldn't tell her emotions. She said, "Why do I need to report in advance to see my fiancé?" Then she raised her chin towards you again. "Did Lu Huizi do it?" You realized that she was talking about the wound on your forehead, and nodded. I fought back. She smiled and said nothing more. You took her to the office, and while pouring her tea, she took out a file bag from her bag and pushed it in front of you. "You are right, the executive's hobby is really damnable." Your hand paused while pouring tea, and you put down the teapot calmly. "No one knows better than the abused how damnable he is." This executive was one of the decision makers of the project. In the previous life, the Song family was able to intercept the Shen family's project, because he frequently showed goodwill to you at the cocktail party, and Song Jinyu saw it, got you drunk and sent you to his bed. You still remember the touch of the turbid breath on your skin, which was extremely disgusting. For this group of beasts in human form, it is not difficult to find a young and good-looking boy, but it is difficult to find a plaything with a good family background and not involved in this circle, so that you will not lower your status and can enjoy the pleasure of being tamed. In your previous life, Song Xinyu used drugs to control you in order to stabilize her business empire, pushing you into the abyss again and again. She suffered a lot while she was happy in the pile of money. The high-end banquets that your brother saw as glamorous are just the key to the door of purgatory. You calmly opened the file bag, looked at the perverted photos inside, and said, "Miss Shen Hong, wait a little longer. I will give you the Song family too." She raised her eyes and looked at you quietly, with mixed emotions in her eyes. "Mr. Lu, I think you seem to have changed." You picked up the teacup and took a sip nonchalantly. "I said I died once. Do you believe it?" The dark color in her eyes faded, and you could see clearly that there was sadness spreading there. She said, "I had a dream. In the dream, I knew about you and rushed to save you, but I didn't make it in time. We have been together from the beginning this time." You reached out and touched her eyebrows. When the soft touch spread from your fingers, you realized what you had done. You hastily withdrew your hand, but it was still a step too late. Shen Xingyue was startled. Then she held your hand in reverse, slowly approached you along the edge of the table, and trapped you in a small space. "Fiancé, why are you hiding?" Her breath was close at hand, and you said hoarsely, "Miss Shenhao, what do you want to do?" Before you finished speaking, you were blocked by her sudden kiss. You suddenly opened your eyes and looked at her in disbelief. She rubbed your lips for a while, then stepped back a little, grabbed your collar and panted softly. "You will marry me sooner or later, so what's the problem with me exercising my wife's rights in advance?" You looked at her and the emotions rolling in your eyes could no longer be suppressed. You thought, "It's really deadly when a woman takes the initiative." You said, "You're right." You raised your hand and touched her hair, leaning forward to kiss her. A faint scent of gardenias came from her, the same as the bouquet of gardenias you gave to a crying little girl when you were a child. Your lips, tongue, and fingertips pressed against her neck were all hot, and your voice was filled with desire. Do you want to go deeper, Fianki? Her face flushed, and she clenched her fingers tightly around your front, with a girl's hazy eyes, which instantly burned all your rationality. At the end of this month, Shen Qing'er went to the neighboring city to discuss business. You were busy with experiments, but you didn't forget to send her messages whenever you had a chance. She would stop and share with you when she saw something new. Like all young couples, you enjoyed a simple and sweet love. Shen Qing'er's birthday was coming soon. This afternoon, you wanted to go to the mall to pick out a gift for her, and suddenly saw a familiar figure from afar. It was Song Xinyu. Even though you were husband and wife in your previous life, you didn't know a lot about her. She should have been busy at work, but she followed a short and fat man into the garden restaurant next door. Your heart tightened suddenly, and you followed him a few steps forward and entered the door. The man turned his head at that moment, as if struck by an electric current. The senior executive who colluded with Song Xinyu in the previous life. You turned on the recording on your phone, followed him secretly, and hid behind the rockery, just in time to hear their conversation. Song Xinyu sneered, his voice gloomy. He's just a man. How can it be more important than the friendship between us, Mr. Xu, right? What's more, I want not only this project, but also the Shen family's company. You always thought that Song Xinyu and his dirty cooperation started from that banquet. It turns out that they had hooked up together for a long time, and that dinner was just a trap to sacrifice you. No wonder Song Xinyu insisted on taking you there in the previous life even though he knew you didn't like socializing. But there's one thing you have always wondered about. The strength of the Shen family should not be underestimated. Shen Qing'er was even more talented in business. At the age of 20, she got an MBA from a top business school and went home to take over the company. Why did she lose to Song Xinyu repeatedly? Why did she suffer heavy losses when a project cooperation failed? You have a lot of questions in your mind. You want to ask Shen Qing'er, but you're afraid that the confrontation will put her in danger. After thinking about it, you decide to start with Song Xinyu to get information. In the early morning, you stepped into the door of the bar and found Song Xinyu dancing happily on the dance floor. Miss Song, long time no see. She whispered in your ear as if flirting. Lu Wangchuan. You also go to the bar? You said. I came here specifically to find you. She took you to the box. Unlike the crazy and noisy dance floor, it was very quiet here. It was obviously two worlds separated by a wall. Song Xinyu came over with a glass of wine and asked if you wanted to drink. You nodded. Her eyes were full of charm. After taking a sip of wine, she handed the glass to you, leaving a bright lipstick mark on the edge of the glass. You looked at the glass and raised your eyebrows. You said, I heard that Miss Song is investing in a project recently. Can you take me with you? She became interested. I always thought you were not a person who cared about business. You lowered your head and smiled helplessly. You know, I have never had a high status in the Liu family. My adoptive parents are about to reach retirement age. They will definitely hand over the family business to my brother. I always have to consider my future. Shen Sheng is your fiancée. Why don't you find her if you want to find a way out? You said helplessly. Men, they like to save face. Her eyes looked at you inch by inch, and finally fixed on your face. Suddenly, she smiled with a smile, and a trace of greed flashed in her eyes, but she hid it well, and said, Come here at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. She handed over a piece of paper with the address on it. The car stopped at a secluded private restaurant. Passing the winding corridor, the door of the innermost box was open. Zhu Hao saw you come in, and his eyes never left you. Mr. Liu, I am interested in cooperating with Mr. Song's company. My name is Zhu Hao. I heard from Mr. Song that you also want to work with us. You endured the strong feeling of nausea, smiled and picked up the wine glass to be polite to him. If Mr. Zhu is willing to give me this opportunity, I will definitely do my best to make things beautiful. Looking at Mr. Zhu and Mr. Song, you two have known each other for many years, right? Zhu Hao filled your glass with wine again. I have known Mr. Song for many years. After saying that, he took a deep look at you and continued to add, Mr. Song and I really met too late. Among so many partners, only Mr. Song knows my preference is best. You took a lot of effort to prevent yourself from spitting in his face. Songs and you certainly didn't really want to take you to do business, but just wanted to use you to win Zhu Hao's heart. In her opinion, you don't understand power tactics, have no power to fight back, and have a good appearance. Since you took the initiative to find her, she just took the name of taking you to do business, to trick you into the bed of those beasts. After a few rounds of drinking, Song Jinyu said she was going out to answer a phone call. Zhu Hao said casually, Xiao Chuan, you will follow me in the future. I have a lot of resources here. Then he listed his brothers who were already in high positions and in various industries. You suddenly understood that the reason why Song Jinyu was so flattering to him was not only because of his own status, but also because of the group of special enthusiasts in the upper class behind him. No wonder she could always suppress the Shen family. You tightened your fingers holding the wine glass, and when he got closer and closer, you pretended to go to the bathroom. You walked to the door of the box, a little dizzy, opened the door, and a cold wind wrapped in a faint scent of gardenia blew over. The light was spread diagonally on the thin figure of the man in front of you, casting a long shadow. You shuddered and woke up. Lu Heizhu stood under the pillar beside him with a proud voice. You see, I said he had a problem. The light in the corridor was warm yellow, but it fell on Shenxing Ruo's face with a cold look. She saw it. Lu Heizhu was still fanning the flames. You Chu, I will take you back to my parents to cancel the engagement now. In your chaotic thoughts, you caught a thread and saw Song Xianyu's confident look at the corner. She was going to push you to the edge. Shenxing Ruo came over, lightly raised a hint of sarcasm, raised her hand and slapped you hard in the face. Lu Wangchuan, we are done. She turned and left after saying this. When you chased downstairs, you just saw Shenxing Ruo getting into the car, and Lu Heizhu laughed behind you, a clown. After that day, Shenxing Ruo didn't contact you for a long time. The fact that you and she were at odds quickly spread in the circle, but your adoptive parents came to your house at this time. Not only were they not angry that you angered the Shen family, but on the contrary, they wanted you to take over the company. Jia Shuan, Mom is usually strict with you in order to train you. You won't blame Mom, right? The adoptive mother said with a hypocritical look on her face. How could that be, Mom? I can't thank you enough. The adoptive father coughed twice and said, We came here today to discuss with you and let you take over the company. You pretended to be worried and asked, What about your younger brother? The adoptive father interrupted you. You don't have to worry about him. You are the older brother. Will you ignore your younger brother? Okay, it's settled. Come to the company next Wednesday to sign the contract. You raised your eyes and smiled. I know, Dad. I will work hard to make the company bigger and stronger, and I won't let you down. Before leaving, your adoptive parents specifically told you to keep this matter confidential. The car quickly disappeared in front of you. You turned around, your smile disappeared, and your expression was indifferent. At the family dinner in the evening, Lu Heizhu said proudly, CHRUO is pregnant. We plan to advance the wedding. She is afraid that she will not look good in the wedding dress when she is pregnant. The family members were congratulating him, and he suddenly changed the subject. Brother, haven't you coaxed Chu yet? Everyone is saying that your marriage can't be successful, is it true? You retorted. Even if she and I can't be successful, it's not your turn to be the son-in-law of the Shen family. Why do you worry about it? He picked up the bowl on the table and threw it at you, and you dodged sideways. He walked over and put his hand on your shoulder, and whispered in your ear, "People like you, who come from the slums, are born to be cheap. You rely on my family to become the Lu master. But you still have a sense of poverty. Be sensible and take the initiative to cancel the engagement. Only I am worthy of a woman like Shen Xing or you owe." At this time, he was still daydreaming about eating in the East and sleeping in the West, and he had no idea what kind of life he would experience next. Even though a lifetime has passed, the 6 months you spent married to Song Xinyu still felt like a nightmare to you. Every day, your hands and feet were tied up. You were forced to take overdoses of drugs, your brain was groggy, and you were almost never awake. How long can you endure the pain of near death, Lu Huizhu? You looked up and saw the inconspicuous needle holes on his arm, and suddenly smiled. "I wish you happiness, brother." Perhaps because the memories of the previous life were too cruel, the smile on your face made Lu Huizhu take a step back, as if he realized that his reaction was too embarrassing. And he cursed stubbornly. Heavy rain hit the glass outside the window, and it was dark without a trace of sunlight. Under the blazing white light in the room, your adoptive father, who is sitting opposite you, puts on a fake smile and hands you a pen. "Xiao Chuan, sign it." You don't know why, but your eyes are filled with warmth. "Dad, do you feel guilty towards me?" Your adoptive father's smile freezes in an instant, and his frowning brows show that his patience is about to run out, but he still has to suppress his temper and be kind to you. "What are you talking about, kid?" Seeing his reaction, you breathe a sigh of relief and count silently in your heart. With a bang, the door is pushed open, and the secretary stands there with an apologetic look on his face. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lu, I can't stop Mr. Lu from coming in." The adoptive father waves his hand, and the secretary closes the door and retreats. Lu Huizhu ran over angrily and snatched the transfer agreement from the table. "Dad, what do you mean? I'm your biological son, but you transferred the family property to an adopted bastard behind my back." The adoptive father said anxiously, "Son, give me the agreement first." "This is not what you think. After your brother signs, I will go back and explain to you." Lu Huizhu held the agreement tightly in his arms, refusing to give in at all. "Do you think I'm stupid? What else can I do after you sign it?" Looking at your adoptive father's anxious look, because of your existence, you retreated very considerately, leaving enough space for them to have a good chat. The moment the elevator door closed, you still laugh. "Lu Huizhu, this idiot, the adoptive parents' company has been in trouble for a long time, and they have planned to push you out as a scapegoat since earlier. The money on the books has long been transferred overseas by them, and what is left is just a shell company with heavy debts. As long as you sign the transfer agreement, all the debts will be yours." Lu Huizhu's plan fell through. You are curious whether the adoptive parents will let their most beloved son, Lu Huizhu, sign. How much is the button of affection worth in their eyes? When you walked out of the office building, the rain outside had stopped long ago. A white Mercedes-Benz stopped by the flower bed. You walked over, opened the door and got in. Shen Xing Ruo turned the steering wheel without looking back. The car stopped at her house, and she took a bottle of good vintage red wine from the wine cabinet. You sat on the terrace of the small garden. "You should have told me your plan earlier." You touched your cheek and said with lingering fear. You reacted quickly. "That slap on my cheek hurts." She laughed out loud. "You deserve it. How about the thing I asked you to investigate?" She took a sip of wine, her eyes cold. "Just as you guessed, Song Xinyu how met at an auction 5 years ago. After that, Song Xinyu has been looking for people for Su Hao to play with, including underage boys, most of whom were deceived. Some of them also made trouble, but they were all suppressed. I understand those struggles, the helplessness and despair in the dark night. You too? Justice is sometimes tricked by many things, but it will never kneel to injustice. Only by breaking the shell they weave with power, those weak flames will gather together and become a prairie fire. Under the influence of alcohol, you still ask the doubts in your heart, you chew. Have you never doubted me? A gust of wind blew the fine hair on her forehead. She raised her hand to push her hair back, revealing her smooth and full forehead. Her eyes were clear on her drunken face. Lu Wangshuan, I knew you before you knew me, for many years. How could I not believe you? As the night deepened, she leaned on your shoulder and fell asleep like a kitten, and her shallow breath blew the broken hair behind your ears. In your life of fighting alone, she gave you unwavering companionship. You gently put her on the bed, covered her with the quilt and prepared to leave. But she kicked it away. You covered her again, and soon she kicked it away again. You smiled and couldn't help but kiss her forehead. In this way, you stayed by her bed all night, and left hurriedly when it was almost dawn. You didn't want to embarrass her when she woke up. Lu Hezu and Song Shi Nyu's wedding was held a month later, and they got the certificate the day before the wedding. That night, Lu Huizu came out of his adoptive father's study and showed off in your room. I have signed the transfer agreement, don't even think about taking a penny. You deliberately waited until Lu Huizu got the certificate before letting him sign, so that any debt he inherited would become a joint debt of the couple. This is all the adoptive parents did to treat their most beloved biological son. Lu Huizu was still observing your expression, and you remained calm. Congratulations. Perhaps you didn't show the sadness and anger he imagined. He became irritable, snatched the book from your hand and tore it into pieces. Why are you pretending to be noble? I don't know how painful it is now. If Shen Xing doesn't want you, you won't get a penny from this family. You are a piece of trash who has accomplished nothing. I'm waiting for you to cry and beg me. You suddenly pinched his neck and pushed him against the wall. Really? Really? Then you must keep the wedding gift tomorrow. On the wedding day, the MC was introducing their love process. Next, please enjoy the VCR. What was played on the screen was not the love clips they filmed, but a series of recordings and videos. Under the live broadcast of the entire network, the dirty deal had nowhere to hide. When Lu Huizu saw himself tied to the bed for entertainment on the screen, he rushed to Song Xinyu and kicked her off the stage. Song Xinyu rolled off the stage, holding her stomach and screaming. The incident about Song Shi Nyu's affair instantly became a hot search. For a while, many people who had been forced by her came forward to report her by real name. All the people behind her and Zhu were caught in one fell swoop. The adoptive parents were taken away by the police before they finished watching the excitement. Lu Huizu gradually realized what the price of the transfer agreement he signed was, and he sat on the ground in despair. You smiled and asked him, why don't you smile on your big day? Are you born not to smile? He trembled all over and wanted to stand up and hit you, but his legs were too weak to stand up. They didn't expect that they would be carried by a parasite, like you who can only survive by clinging to the hose. You should burn out the last bit of your usefulness and then die silently. It is precisely because you have been ignored that you can give them a fatal blow when they relax their vigilance. The Lu family and the Song family were crushed overnight, and the Shen family became the biggest winner. Shen Xing Ruo was busy all the time, and your experimental project was also progressing smoothly. You signed a big order and were very busy. It was 3 months later that we met again. The car stopped at your high school, and she took your hand and walked into the school. The security uncle at the gate stopped you, and she calmly took off her mask. Uncle Wang, it's me, Xiao Chu. The uncle carefully looked at Shen Xing Ruo's face and tried to recall. It's you. You're so old now. I remember that you were crying in the bushes because the boy you liked went abroad. Shen Xing Ruo quickly changed the subject. Uncle, my boyfriend is still here. I'll take him in and come out soon. The uncle happily let you in. Which class are you from? 2 years younger than you. So she's my junior. Shen Shenar, you all stopped and stared at your face seriously. You really have no impression at all. You shook your head blankly. She sighed and asked you, why did you go abroad that year? Then she said, the photo on your laboratory honor wall was taken by me. What she said was incoherent, but you vaguely understood something. Then she took you to the bookstore on the back street of the school, where you loved to read books and do exercises in high school. Her voice was very soft and gentle. Before there was a girl who wanted to buy a book, but the last one was bought by a boy. The boy saw that the girl wanted it and gave it to her. The girl often went to the bookstore and saw that the boy always sat in the corner reading quietly. The girl sat at the table next to him, day after day. After the boy went abroad, the girl sat in the place where he often sat and thought about him. This is a very cliché story, and a warm feeling flows through your body. You hugged her tightly in your arms. You too blame me for being this slow and so late. It will be my turn in the future. Watching you. There is an old scent of ink in the bookstore, as if it has drifted over from the long past. The sun is shining outside the window, and the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. It is spring when everything revives. However, behind the seemingly happy ending, you always feel that there are still some vague clues that have not been sorted out. Have those who have participated in the evil deeds of Song Zhenyu and Zhu Hao really been caught in one fell swoop? Are there still forces hidden in the dark waiting for an opportunity to move, ready to bring new crises to your Anshen Sheng Are You O's new life?